So is the Sony ZV-E1 actually good in low lighting? In order to answer this question, I took the Sony ZV-E1 to a place where I could actually determine this. Please do note that this video is not sponsored by Sony or anyone else, and this camera and lens were purchased by me. So I brought along the ZV-E1 on an adventure that would involve a lot of low light filming. There's an old train tunnel in Virginia that was turned into a hiking trail a couple years ago. This old tunnel is nearly 1 mile long, which is a long time underground, and there's absolutely no lighting installed in this tunnel. So the only lighting that you have in this tunnel is the lighting you bring with you. And the only lighting we had in this hike through the tunnel was a single flashlight that we brought with us. My wife, 3 kids, and I did this hike recently, and we had a blast. But how did the Sony ZV-E1 do? The next 10 minutes of footage you're about to see was filmed exclusively on the Sony ZV-E1, and the lens that I paired with the ZV-E1 was a Sony 20mm f1.8G. I had no gimbal, no grip, anything like that. I filmed entirely handheld with this camera on the strap around my neck. After you check out the footage, let me know what you think in the comments below. We started our adventure early in the morning. On this day, it was going to be approximately 100 degrees, and we wanted to get an early start for the portion of the trail before we got to the tunnel. That portion of the trail consists of about half a mile, and much excitement built as we got closer and closer to the tunnel. And the tunnel was going to feel great on this really hot day, because inside the tunnel, the temperatures were in the 60s and 50s toward the center of the tunnel. As we rounded the bend and the tunnel was seen, there was much excitement. This tunnel, of course, was finished in 1852, so it's been around a while. So here's the big test. We're about to enter the tunnel, and we're going to see how the Sony ZV-E1 does. The east end of the tunnel where we started has a lot of water. There's water dripping everywhere, water all over, and it felt really good. So here we are in the tunnel. And you can see the distant light at the other end, very far away. The inside of the tunnel is incredible. There's one cool spot in there where water just gushes out of the wall. One of my sons naturally had to check that out. And I love looking up at the ceiling up there. Very cool. So we continue our trek further into the heart of the tunnel. It gets darker and darker, with that tiny light at the end of the tunnel. Here's my son doing shadow puppets as we go along. My other son was having a blast as well, and my daughter was on my back. Still quite a bit of water as we go into the heart of the tunnel, and the temperature continues to decrease, which was phenomenal. By about this point, we were probably at about 52, 53 degrees. There was a nice breeze rushing through the tunnel too, due to the contrast of cold and hot air. Very cool brickwork at the ceiling and the walls of the tunnel here, and of course, some water dripping as well. Love looking at that brickwork there. As we head toward the west end of the tunnel, there's more and more brick here. And I love all the efforts that must have gone into putting this brick up, especially along the ceiling up there, and getting it all to stay in place. By this point, we're getting pretty close to the west end of the tunnel. think this is my favorite part with the brick here. Love it. So now we exit the tunnel on the west side, and I love the west side, the stonework there. It's very cool. And this arch on the west side is apparently as it was back in 1852 when the tunnel first opened. It's definitely stood the test of time. It's time to go back into the tunnel. So at this point, we re-enter the tunnel from the west side, and we start heading back east the way we came. And our trusty flashlight did not let us down. And apparently there are people who like to ride their bikes through this tunnel too. Always have my hiking pole with me, even though this hike is much easier than most of the hikes we typically do. So we're getting back close to the east end of the tunnel, which is definitely the wet end of the tunnel. Of course, we had to check out the water again when we went by. The water was ice cold, definitely spring fed. Love how that felt. And my youngest son, he took delight in splashing in the puddles, but my oldest son tried to miss the puddles. At least a few of them. So it's time to exit the tunnel on the east side. It gets very bright. The eyes have to adjust a little bit. Love that green stone on the east end of the tunnel, by the way. It's apparently a very hard stone, very difficult to cut through. And we have reached the other end of the tunnel, so it's time to get off our hoodies, because it is very hot and humid outside of the tunnel. Then it's time to venture back to our vehicle. So what did you think of the footage?